This week on Cinemax, it's the newest episode of Sexcraft Country. Seriously, the 15-year-old me would have loved this episode, but for different reasons than 42-year-old me loved it. Okay, we loved it for the same reasons: sex, war, and nine-tail fox demons. Hey everyone, I'm Brent the Middleman, your middle-aged, middle manager in Middle America, here today with my weekly look into the awesome HBO sci-fi series Lovecraft Country. Here is the standard, please subscribe, like, and comment sentence, but seriously, it really does make my day to see likes and comments, so thank you. Also, spoiler alert for all 6 episodes of the show, but there shouldn't be any book spoilers because I have never read it. The title of this week's episode, Meet Me in Daegu, is a play on the old American musical Meet Me in St. Louis starring Judy Garland. You know, Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz and mother of singer-actress Eliza Minnelli. The title not only helps to set the stage for the story, which takes place in Daegu, South Korea, but it also references Ji-ah, our main character's longing for the type of life portrayed in the film. The film's story is also told in seasons, just like this flashback episode of the series. The movie also shows a very idealized way of life in America as the people get ready for the World's Fair in St. Louis, a type of life that just isn't possible for Ji-ah in war-torn Korea. We see right away that Ji-ah, who is played brilliantly by former real-world San Diego castmate Jamie Chung, who also portrayed the purple alien in episode 1 and the soldier Tick Kills in episode 2, that she is shy and uncomfortable. She waits for a couple to leave the theater to even just imagine singing and dancing down the aisle, just like the characters in the film she is watching. We also see her watching the other nursing students discuss whether one of their boyfriends is moving too fast or not on their first date. She notices how the popular girl, Young Ja, is wearing her socks, and she copies her for her speed dating session. We don't know it at the time, but she is studying the other girls to learn how to be like them because she is most definitely not like them. Before the speed dating, we see Ji-ah and her mother making kimchi for the winter. We are shown how poor they are and how hard life is there, because if they do not make the food right, they will starve during the winter. We also find out that because neither of them are married, they have not been invited to Gimjong in years. Gimjong is a yearly festival where neighbors get together and make kimchi for the winter. Ji-ha says that once she is a nurse, then they will be given more respect. But we learn that getting a man is much more important than having a career. It's no wonder that life she sees in the movies looks so much better. At the speed dating, we see the hierarchy of men and women in Korean culture at the time. Only the men have cards because women do not get a choice. Ji-ah starts off with her first date just repeating what she heard Young Ja say in nursing school. With the second man, she just says lines from an American musical. She actually connected with the third man over their love of Judy Garland, but he still gave her an X. I think they could tell there was something fake about her, which made them move on to the next one. I also think the third guy was gay because he loves musicals and Judy Garland. That's not to say that straight guys can't like musicals, but Judy Garland is pretty well known as a fan favorite of gay men, and Ji-ah's friend who he picked said that he was boring, making me think he isn't too interested in women. But society dictates that he must marry as well. She actually says he is as dull as ditchwater, which is funny because the actual saying is dull as dishwater, showing her attempt at American slang. After Ji-ah strikes out during speed dating, which is kind of unbelievable given how pretty she is, she ends up at the bar alone where a Korean band is playing Besame Mucho, which is Spanish for kiss me a lot. She spots a man at the bar smoking a cigarette and flashes him the come over here eyes. She takes him home to her love den, and that's when things go from HBO to Cinemax. Things are over pretty quickly, however, but this is when the real fun begins. Tails start to emerge from all of Ji-ha's orifices and stab into our lucky guy. They lift him into the air when finally 2 suction cup tails come out and stick over his eyes, which seem to transfer his memories to Ji-ah. She sees some of the memorable moments in his life, including him screaming with joy as he reaches the top of a mountain. Ji-ha imitates his scream just as her tails burst his body like a bloody water balloon all over her and the bed. Wow, didn't see that coming at all. Ji-ha's mother comes in right after that, and instead of freaking out like we expect her to do, she just tells Ji-ha 10 more. Man, things really went sideways there. We then flash ahead to 1950, and Ji-ha is back at the movies when the American tanks start rolling in. They are passing out flyers and saying they are there to liberate the Koreans, but all they have done is ruin Jia's favorite hobby, watching movies. Back at her home, her mother is pressuring her to find more men because we find out that Jiha is actually a spirit that her mother summoned, and she needs to take 10 more souls to make it 100 total for her actual daughter to be returned to her. That night, Jia is out walking with young Jia when Jia tells her that she knows she is a communist. She tells her this because she is looking to bond with her over them both being different. But being a nine-tailed fox spirit is a little bit different than a communist. This is also how we find out how dangerous being a communist can be in North Korea at the time, as they witness a man being hung in the street because he was a suspected communist. Later that night, after Jia is finished bursting another guy's bubble, her mother tells her that she only needs to kill one more and she will become her daughter again. The spirit says it does not want to kill one more because it likes being alive. It also harshly reminds the mother that it does not have any of her daughter's memories, but she does have the memories of her ex-husband, who we find out she summoned the demon to kill. But the price for the demon was that her daughter would have to take 100 souls before she would be returned. We also find out that her ex-husband was not Jia's real father, but he married Jia's mom even though she had a baby to help bring her respect. But he also felt this gave him the right to rape Jia. The mother finally could not take it anymore and went to a woman in the hills to help summon the kumio, or a nine-tailed fox spirit. But now the spirit is here and it does not want to leave. On the way to her shift at the hospital, the nurse truck is pulled over at a checkpoint and the American soldiers are saying they intercepted communist messages coming from the hospital during their shift. The soldier asks who the communist is and shoots a random nurse to get the person to speak up. When his gun jams, he asks another soldier, who turns out to be Atticus, to shoot another random nurse, which he does without even blinking, spraying her brains and blood all over Jia. Atticus is about to shoot Jia when young Jia speaks up and says she is the communist, and they take her away. Jia stares down Tick, studying him. That's why when he ends up in her hospital that fall, she remembers him and decides she is going to kill him. He would be her 100th soul, and this would cause the spirit to leave Jia's body. Tick is in bad shape at the hospital, and even his glasses break, so he can't even read his copy of The Count of Monte Cristo, which we already know is his father Montrose's favorite book. He asks Jia to read it to him, but instead she spoils the ending, saying that Edmund and Mercedes end up together even though she thinks they shouldn't have. She believes that Edmund should have taken a different path now that he finally had the choice. This is like the Kumio choosing not to kill again in order to live life as a human. But what Jia doesn't realize is that Tick has already read the book, and the book ending is different from the movie version she saw, and in fact, Edmund and Mercedes do not end up together, much like how Tick and Jia do not end up together. Tick and Jia end up talking, and she learns that Tick is more than his actions in the war, much like how she is more than her actions with the men she has killed. They both felt like they didn't have a choice, they were just following orders. She also learns that Tick volunteered for the war because he wanted to escape his life at home, like how she goes to the movies to escape. Tick really wins her when he sets up a surprise movie that night at the base. He lets her watch the movie Summer Stock, which she told him she really wanted to see before the movie theater was shut down. Tick was able to get a copy of the movie from good old Uncle George and the connections he made while traveling and writing his Safe Negro Travel Guide. Despite all of Tick's efforts, Jia still decides that tonight is the night to take her 100th soul, but just before, Tick tells her that he is a virgin, and this seems to give her pause. He also expresses all his regret for the things he has done in the war and tells her that she makes him forget. She realizes that Tick is a good man and she does not want to kill him, so she kicks him out of her house just before they go from HBO to Cinemax. Jia's mother comes in and Jia tells her that she has told her so many times that she cannot experience love because she is not human, but Jia loves Tick, so she knows she can feel, and this motivates her to stay in Jia's body. She goes to visit Tick at the base and he does not want to see her, so she confesses that she knew he was the one who killed her best friend, but that he also saved her by making her realize she can be human without having to be a monster. This is interesting because she actually is a type of monster, whereas Tick is a metaphorical monster, but they can both choose to be better than that. The season changes to winter and Tick and Jia get a place to stay. There she reads him the story of the Kumio, the nine-tailed fox spirit that can be summoned into the form of a beautiful woman. He tells her that he loves her and wants her to come back to America with him, but she says there are so many things you don't know about me. He says there is nothing you can say that will change the way I feel. Well, he spoke way too soon. When they jump back to Cinemax, Jiha loses control over her tales and she starts to suck out Tick's memories. She starts by seeing flashes of Atticus's past. She sees him with his mother, then reading a comic book, then getting beaten by Montrose, then him torturing her friend young Jia. But she also sees his future, apparently because she threw him off and wouldn't be killing him. She sees him with a woman who was probably a one-night stand to get over Jiha, who tried to kill him during sex, then getting a ticket to Chicago on the bus we see him in episode 1, then him in all white being baptized, a flash of Letty, and finally him dying while strapped to some kind of table. This is why Tick freaked out and called Jiha after translating the letters D-I-E in the Book of Adam and wanted to know how she knew. After her visions, we see Tick understandably freaking out and he makes a run for it, but Jiha is yelling at him to not go home because he will die. As he leaves, she begs him, "Please, I am Kumio." Tick runs out and Jiha tells her mom she is ready to go try to banish the spirit. The show ends with a voiceover by an older Judy Garland during an interview where she talks about how she spent her life trying to please everyone with her singing and acting, yet people called her unfit and didn't really know the real her. These were her peers and they are now dead, and she seems to take pleasure that she outlived them. This correlates to Jiha, or the Kumio, being seen as a monster, with nobody really understanding who she really is except for Atticus. But even he left when he saw what she really was. While we hear this, we see Jiha and her mother visiting the woman who summoned the Kumio for them. Jiha asks if Atticus will die. The woman says that her mortal concerns are meaningless because she is not human, she is a spirit. She also tells her that she has not become one with the darkness yet, and she will witness countless deaths before her journey is done. This seems to indicate that Kumio will stay around and Jiha will come back into the picture. I wonder if one of the tunnels under Letty's house leads to Korea. We already saw them get from Boston to Chicago in a couple of hours, and we saw that there were multiple tunnels underneath the museum. Tick is going to have quite the love triangle on his hands, and possibly 2 women pregnant with magical babies and his Braithwaite blood. Next week looks like a whole lot of hippolata, so rev up your orreries and get ready to take a trip through time. As always, please let me know your theories in the comments. Once again, I'm Brent the Middleman. Thanks for watching.